before we do an RFP, how do we create platforms that empowers people to send proper, better pension when we created this RFP? We must be able to go and say to you, this is the business challenge, this is what we are trying to solve, how do we work with you? And this is some of the things, CSG, this and all of those things are some of the barriers, this is what you need to do. So I just wanted, Chair, to say, part of the education we need to do as a deliberate KPIs from government agencies will be to go to the stakeholders to be able to say, we want to empower you to be able to do 1, 2, 3. Lastly, the developmental aspect and pivoting towards a level of Tabang and a level of Donovan should start with us as government. There's absolutely no reason why government work is not told through storytelling and film, like everybody else in the world is doing. We call it propaganda. It's not propaganda, it's just sharing what is there. And that should be the way where we empower you to be able, we're not saying government is a platform to make mistakes, but government should be developmental in nature, allows film producers to work on government content, government stories, KPIs. The Gautrain story is the current production on the Gautrain. There was a film done on National Geographic that looked into the drilling, the drill machine being put from Durban into Johannesburg, the drilling process and everything else. Right now, Gauteng is reindustrialization through SEZ. Filmmakers should be camera action on, documenting how the big 5 Ford car for export market is being produced, made here in Gauteng. That's how we will then start creating the necessary critical mass and skill that will enable the team to graduate to blockbuster film production. Government should be able to provide such opportunities, trial and error, and that's how we learn. And that's the view from the side to say, government should be able to open up, we should be able to document our social cohesion games, and 5 years down the line, the production crew that was recording the social cohesion games should be able to be doing work for DSTV Premier League. Thanks.
All right, thanks for that. David, do you have any contribution? Is the mic not on? Okay, apologies.
Okay, I mean, Gosnati, we need to talk. I think we haven't engaged. One of the things that I did mention, of course, is that when COVID hit, the first thing that we did, so as the SABC, we've got an expansion plan, multi-channel expansion plan that's aligned to the launch of DTT. Obviously, DTT, as you know, is really being run by government. So we need to be aligned. But in partnership with DBE, the first thing that we did was to launch a 24-hour education channel. The only reason why you don't have it is because there's no space on the analog spectrum for people to access it. So it's sitting on DTT, but it's also sitting on other platforms. We've partnered with Telkom One, it's sitting on that platform, and so on. So we do have, and you're quite right, in terms of education, for us, it's always been important, and not only because it's our mandate, but it's exactly what is going to build the social fiber of our society. The issues that we talk about around GBV, violence, all that has to be, and has to be healed through education or transferred through education. Now, one of the things that I think we've done successfully as well is not have didactic education. So one of the things that you might not see is when Uzalo has got a lot of 10, 11 million viewers, we take that opportunity to infuse education, to deal with issues of GBV in the storyline. One of the biggest dramas that we have, Skeem Sam, is an education drama. So that's how we also try and make sure that we couch the messaging and the education in our entertainment so that it falls on our audiences and they can also receive it. Because we know as soon as you label it education and it's didactic, you'll find that a lot of people stay away. So definitely let's talk and let us see how we contribute to increasing the work that we've already started.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go to the back of the room. I'll come back to the front in a moment. I'm going to go to the back of the room and allow also some of those in the back to ask their questions.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Ndogo Zombuli. I own a company called Sugar Bean Pictures, which is black female owned. I'm just standing here because one of my clients is sitting at a table close to me and I'm scared because of the question I'm about to ask. So I thought I'd move away. What my company does, Sugar Bean Pictures, is we focus a lot on content that gives respect to indigenous knowledge. So we have an NFVF funded film in development, which is an effort to decolonize the history of the frontier wars. We have a limited series that we're doing for the National Geographic Society, and we had a show on SABC2 that aired last year, which was a hybrid nature culture series, an indigenous knowledge perspective to nature conservation, which was an effort to demystify the idea that black societies and black cultures need to be educated about nature when actually the colonizer found us here with our plants and animals doing just fine. And then we have another one coming up on the same channel. So that's why I'm standing here. My question is for Bob David Makubian. Because of producers like us who do factual content, the research of which is harvested differently to normal content. Indigenous knowledge cannot, you can't Google it, you can't phone a friend, you have to meet many, many chiefs to ask for the permissions. You get told no after traveling all the way to Venda or the Eastern Cape or KZN. We bring chickens and goats and sheep to ask for, I'm being serious, to ask for, and bottles of brandy. And, you know, there's all these things that you have to take into account when you're harvesting knowledge to make the kind of programming that my company makes. And we find that with SABC, the templates around which budgets are handled make it very difficult, and to the point where there's like absolutely no movement. So you can't buy alcohol on an SABC budget, understandably, right? But if you have to bring cases and cases of brandy to all these chiefs that are going to say no to you before you find the ones that will agree to you to make 13 episodes of something, or there's a rule that SABC cannot pay participants from production money, but with indigenous knowledge programming, the participants are the people from which you're harvesting the knowledge. Professor Saule, you know, who are going to spend a week with you, taking you everywhere from Fort Hare to Makanda. It's their time and it's their effort and it's their brains and information that, you know, they spend decades of their lives studying, and we can't pay them from production budgets for them to participate in our programming. And at the same time, we are young and new production companies, 2, 3, 4 years old, who have been waiting. You were right when you said it takes 3 to 5 years to get a show on air. You know, our shows are going on air now that were pitched in 2018 and 2019, and we don't have other sources of income where we could, you know, take money from to make these things happen because
Sure.
SABC budgets don't make them possible. So my question to you is, what kind of flexibilities can SABC allow for this type of programming, which is so important in this day and age?
All right, thank you. Thank you for that question. I'm going to take another one here in the front before I give our panelists an opportunity to answer very quickly.
Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Zama. I'm from Sollywood, South Africa. I've just got 3 comments. The first one...
I hope they're very brief, Zama.
Briefly. The first one is IDC. We still believe in the beauty of the dream of Skyring. I'm saying Cape Town has got its own studio. KZN is building its own studio. And we believe that Skyring is one of the best things our government has ever done. We've put an offer to revive Skyring and to call it Joburg Film Studio. And we've paid a little bit of some money. We've applied to government. We still need to talk about that. because that was a dream of the film summit we have to have a Skyring. The second one is maybe it is time GEP, MICC, GTA, and as well as GFC combine and talk about youth development, especially in terms of training. The reason why I'm saying that is that you might find that sometimes you want to train some more interns. We believe in training of the graduates, unemployed, but because of the budget each have, and then it's difficult for you to do that. For example, I'll make an example. Last year we wanted to train 100 young people, but we only given a budget for 10 young people. But we ended up training 83 anyway, and they graduate. But I'm saying if maybe the government entities can sit down, and the beauty, they are all here today, and sit down and define to say how many young people would like to train. And the last one, it goes to, and when I'm talking about training, I'm not talking about just your known skills like your editing and whatever. Let's focus maybe on the skills which are critical skills in the film industry. Like GTA was talking about localization, scouting, but let's fine tune that and say film tourism, your TV adverts. There's few young people who understand film adverts, and we've just completed one today. The drone manufacturing. The drone is something of the future now. And then as well as digitalization TV, you're talking about moving from analog to digital. But few young people who are graduating from the university know what we mean about that. And the last one, let's maybe the broadcasters, your SABC, your Stekineco, and international distributors like your Lionsgate and others. Let's find a way when we are doing the Gauteng Film Summit towards the end of the year, engage them. Because there are so many people, especially filmmakers who have done films, but those films are gathering dust. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Zama. Yes, sir.
Sanbonani, my name is Sia Masugu. I am the founder of Siyafundo Online, and I write and produce and independently publish graphic novels in Ngesizulu specifically. Reason I went into this is because publishers, honestly, they don't care about indigenous languages. And the big sellers, they don't want to sell them because the market is not looking for them, and the market is not buying because the publishers are not, the sellers are not selling. But the reason I came into this is I got to a point where I realized that the stories need to go into digital from analog. And I started collaborating with the likes of the Dubai Studios to do that. Now, the industry is shifting digitally. Okay, stories need to go from books or print, and they need to go onto digital screens, because Abantwana, honestly, they don't care for books, even though we want them to read them. They want to see the iPads and all that stuff. Now, my question is, what is, say, the Department of Arts and Culture, even broadcasters, doing towards progressing that, you know, because we need to transcend. We need to move from just going to YouTube. We need to go to, there's NFTs now, non-fungible tokens. What are the plans for that, okay? And if the issue is we need to start taking kids or the youngsters who are coming from after and really putting them into industries, let's be honest, the industry is owned mostly by white capital. It's hard for black artists to get into it. And this is why people like us decide, okay, cool, we'll just do it. Now, how about commissioning? Just going out there and commission independent publishers or authors or directors and just bringing them up, because we have the content and we have a market that wants it, but the market thinks that the content is only in English and it's not going digital, etc. But the content is there, the creators are there, we are all there, everything is there. What is the plan to actually move from analog to digital, and within the digital space, what are we thinking about the future of digital when it comes to NFTs and such? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that question, Sia. I saw a hand up in the front. Can I please get a microphone, one to the front and one to the very back, if possible, please?
Good evening, everyone. MEC Mbalihlophe, CEO of the GFC, members of the panel, all board members, all protocol observed, Kathy, filmmakers. I think it's wonderful to look around the room, and it's Friday night and we're here having this very important conversation. I think, Kathy, earlier on you alluded to the fact that the reason we are here is perhaps to give the GFC some takeouts for them to go back and look at what are those low-hanging fruits. What are those things that are going to really move us from where we are to becoming a sustainable industry, to becoming, moving from the young people that we see to getting more like the Donovans, the Tabangs. I went to school with these two guys here, but are not looking at me. And David, I was quite excited to hear some of the things that you spoke of in terms of the SABC, as you called it yourself, a dormant giant, something, a sleeping giant, something of that sort. And I think you are part of a very critical entity within the South African film and television industry. And I think to see the SABC go where we thought it was all going, it is quite sad. And it's important that it is led by people who are change agents, who realize where the challenges are. And I'm excited to hear you speak about changing the commissioning models. I know that the pre-sales in terms of what is available, but I'd like to pull your attention to maybe what Maijang was speaking of, because I think we have no industry if we're going to continue to not own. And I think you started alluding to that. The amortization of our content is critical. And us as producers, as filmmakers, as an industry, we need to participate and co-own. As we co-own, we can then in perpetuity, amortize the content. And I think, Maijang, you said that if an actress is not on TV every day, they're probably a struggling actress. If a producer's work is not on television every day, they're probably a struggling producer. I have a daily on SABC3, but whether you want to call me a struggling producer or not, because when it ends, do I own it? Can I amortize it? Do I own it in perpetuity? Or after that, I need to go and pitch for another one, and what does that mean? So if we have to play a numbers game, there's probably low-hanging fruits at GFC that we have to look at from a financial and a budget and an ownership point of view. If the manufacturing industries can come in and create such low number jobs that you mentioned, Maijang, and still look at figures that they are looking at, I think in this room I've seen some incredible producers. Ntokozo produces some incredible television, and I think she's just left. And I think we can turn this industry around. It is going to take some coordination, which I think we lack greatly. MEC, there is no coordination. There are no custodians that are taking up, because it has to be a coordinated effort. Whilst the SABC, perhaps, if I'm pitching for season 3 of The Estate, I'd like to own 30% of that. Please, David. We require partners that are agile enough, light on their feet,